next module is the most important part of this presentation. We discussed the development of your interview strategy. You can't go into your interview without a plan regarding how you will answer questions and promote yourself to the job. The strategy is not complicated or difficult to understand. It's quite simple. But with this strategy, you will have a coordinated and consistent approach to answering questions and presenting yourself in a professional way. Let's begin. Let's discuss now the development of your interview strategy. The primary purpose for our whole discussion here. Your objective is obviously to get a job offer. Well, the question is, well, what's your strategy to get that? Well, you could say, I'll just go in and answer every question and we'll see how it goes. Well, that's a little bit too unfocused. We need to have something much more rigorous, and that's what we're going to be developing now. The objective of getting the job offer could be accomplished by a very simple strategy. It's not going to be very advanced or complicated. It's simply to market yourself to the job. The same way if you were in a retail business and you were selling a product, you would try to convince the customer to buy the product by talking about all its great features. And you would talk about yourself as the salesperson as well and what you would bring to the transaction. The objective here in getting a job offer is no different. The analogy is you are the product. You are promoting yourself to the interviewer. And the same way, if you were selling a product, you talk about the product features, you're going to talk about your skills. Those are the qualities and the features that you would bring to your job interview. Now, since you're going to be promoting your features, your qualities, your skills, we need to identify what those skills are. And we go through this exercise. I call it the critical success skills inventory. For the particular job that you are applying for, identify what you think are the most important skills. And these are skills that you have, that are strengths that you have. So you're going to be bringing these skills, the skill set, your strengths to the interview. And during the course of the discussion with the interviewer, you'll be talking about them and they will align with the requirements of the job. So you go through this exercise. I have 5 lines here. That's not to say that you should limit your identification of the important skills to just 5. It could be fewer, it could be more, whatever you think is appropriate. So on the left side of this chart, you list the skills that you think are the most important. On the right side, you change your perspective. Here, you put yourself in the position that you are the interviewer. You are the person who's going to be making the decision to hire that person for the job that you actually are applying for. Now, the reason you take this different perspective is sometimes certain skills might jump out to you when you take the perspective of the interviewer that you might not have thought of when you were looking from the perspective of the job applicant. So you go through the 2 parts of this exercise and come up with your best, your strongest list of job skills, critical job skills that you would be bringing to the job, and therefore the interviewer would be confident that you'll be successful and will make the decision to hire you. Our next slide gives you a very broad list of little phrases you may consider in describing what your critical skills are. The practice here of putting these little phrases in the critical success skills inventory that we just reviewed is so that you have what I call memory joggers, 1 or 2 words that summarize for you what the skill is that you're going to be talking about. So you could use from this list, if you like, or you can come with some others that may not be included here, whatever you think is important. And that's what you memorize, just these little memory joggers. And then during the course of the interview, you fill them out. You give a broader description of what these actual skills are. Our overall interview strategy is to know what to say. We've talked about the first part of this acronym, SAY, and that's to promote your skills. Those are the skills that you have identified in this critical success skills inventory. A represents actual examples. And here the reference is to how you're going to validate your skills. You have a list of skills that you're going to promote. The interviewer most probably doesn't know you. Why would the interviewer believe you regarding those skills? Well, we'll talk about ways to validate what you're saying. And the last letter, Y, refers to you being the employer or the interviewer. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. So, validating your skills. There are three ways that I'm going to promote to you to validate the skills. The first is to tell an anecdote where you demonstrated that skill. That's what the A stands for. Actual example, give an anecdote from your experience where you demonstrated that skill. So if you could talk about being very creative, a creative problem solver, for example, then talk about an incident from your experience, work experience preferred, or personal or academic experience if you don't have something from a work record. Where did you demonstrate that particular skill of creative problem solving? A second way to validate what you've said regarding your skills is to, and this is a kind of an indirect way, is to make a great first impression when you meet the interviewer. Starting from the moment when you walk into the room where you'll be interviewed. Nice firm handshake, friendly smile, some very nice comments as an introduction. If you make a great impression upon this interviewer, that interviewer is very likely to give you the benefit of the doubt in understanding what you've said, whether it's credible or not. The interviewer will attribute to you greater sincerity, greater professionalism, and therefore make that hiring decision. People often talk about making a hiring decision based on a gut feel, an expression that I'm sure you've heard. Well, you want to make sure that your interviewer has a great gut feel about you, and that's created by a great first impression. And you may have the opportunity to make multiple great first impressions during the course of the interview if you are interviewed by more than one person. The third way that you validate what you've said, give it credibility, is to demonstrate during the interview the skills that you've defined as being at a high level and a high level of performance. For example, if you say you have great communication skills, well, what are the factors of a great communicator? Concise, succinct, speaks with energy, speaks with passion, gets right to the point. So if you demonstrate those skills during the course of the interview, right there in front of the interviewer, then clearly the interviewer is going to agree that you have strong communication skills. You may talk about the ability to handle stress and the pressures of the job. An interview is absolute pressure filled session for you. So if you're able to be calm and self assured and in control during the course of your interview, then that certainly validates what you've said about your ability to handle pressure situations. The Y stands for you, the employer. You're being hired to accomplish something for this organization. You need to take every opportunity during the course of your interview to show that you understand that. When you get up in the morning every day, your thought is, how can I support my employer's strategies? How can I help my employer make progress towards its goals and objectives? And when you have that kind of focus and loyalty and commitment on your part, that's a ticket for success, and that will impress the interviewer when you talk like that, rather than what you can get out of the job, but what you can give the job. That's part of your strategy. So we now have our SAY strategy. How do we use it? For every question you're asked, you need to consider quickly, especially if you haven't been able to practice for that question. Does the question allow you to respond with a discussion of your critical skills? Does the question allow you to respond with a description of your accomplishments where you demonstrated those skills? And does the question allow you to respond with a firm commitment to the organization's strategies and goals. If you follow that SAY strategy, you understand it, and you practice it, you'll be in a great position to handle effectively any question you might get. So now let's see how we're going to apply all of these strategies in answering some sample questions.